All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Thank you all. Welcome to our madness. We are here to help observe all that is going on in this country, in this world, in our lives. I was just talking to Kim about her kids. You know, I like to get kind of grounded, get away from the craziness of this Trump regime and all that we're going to be talking about. So I asked Kim, you know, like, what's happening in the family? You know, tell me what's going on. And what did you tell me, Kim?
I believe I told you the kids are pissed off, Mark.
The kids are pissed off.
Yeah.
And
They're not
are
happy.
they?
They're not happy
what
at
is
all.
it that they're angry about? What?
They had 2 weeks off and everything was great. And this week they had to go back to school and they are not having it.
Oh, they're not fans of school? Is that what you're
No.
telling me? Yeah.
I think they would rather lay
Image is
around,
hideous.
play video games, watch movies, you know.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
But given the choice, they're probably,
Right.
they don't
Yeah.
spark to the school. Albert, how is your life outside of the Mark Thompson show? Is everything proceeding in a smooth direction?
Getting better. Yeah.
Getting better? Okay.
Rough holiday season.
You and the girlfriend still together?
Yeah, we have some plans coming up.
I love it. Oh, you have plans? You have nuptial plans or you have vacation plans?
Vacation plans.
Okay,
I
all
thought
right.
a big announcement was going to be made or
me
something
too.
right there.
I thought I'd backed into something
That'll be
big.
breaking news on the Mark Thompson show and in my life. That'll be good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
Girl,
it.
you just woo.
I'm excited. Well, I hope wherever you are, as you join us live, we're on at 2 o'clock every afternoon on the East Coast until 4 o'clock. And from 11 to 1, our friends on the West Coast and across the globe. What time is it right now, Albert, in some exotic port of call? Do you want to give me a time in, let's say, Brisbane, Australia, or Melbourne, Australia?
They're getting summertime over there, so it must be really beautiful. Let me go check
Yeah.
what time it is in Brisbane.
Sports Hatch says, Mark, are you going to give us hope today? Or are you going to give us the truth?
It is a brisk 5 a.m. and the next day in Brisbane on the 10th.
It is 5 a.m. already tomorrow. However they
Look at
speak.
cheers, you. They cheers everything. Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. There's a very casual thing about Australians generally, and it's played out in their language. So if you listen to, now I understand that British people speak in many different sorts of ways, but the typical sort of British accent that I think, have become familiar with, maybe proper British accent, I don't know, upscale British accent, whatever you want to call it. The
Posh.
Brits are proper and poshy, yeah, and they finish the end of every word. So there's a sort of completion to every word and every sentence, because that is the British way. But if you go to Australia, and as I say, they're just a much more casual people, and it's played out even in their language. They don't finish the end of any word. Oh, and it's like that. They talk like that, mate. You know, it's like you hear the word, but it's just not quite rounded off the same way that they round it off, let's say, in London, you know. But we have a couple of listener viewers in Australia, and maybe more than a couple. And so that is that's our shout out to them. The Breakfast Show, exactly, in Australia. Crocodile Dundee, what happened to him? What was Paul Hogan? Is that his name?
I don't know.
He was the guy. But don't look, Albert. Don't look. Paul Hogan, living or dead? Paul Hogan, living or dead? What do we? I don't know the answer either, so we'll all guess. What do you say, Kim?
I say dead.
What do you say, Albert?
I think he's alive. I think I would have remembered the news.
I think he's alive also. Kim's going dead.
Yeah.
Albert and myself going alive. What is the answer, Albert? Paul Hogan, the guy who made it, put another shrimp on the Barbie, made that whole thing famous.
He is still alive. So
He is still
I'm wrong.
alive.
Yeah, my apologies, Mr. Hogan.
Would you like to apologize to the Hogan family
I
and
would
to
like
the?
My words
Way.
upset so many people.
No,
Yeah.
it was.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
I should apologize to everyone. So
John Slade said he is old though.
yeah, but being
Yeah.
old is not a bad thing. It
Yeah.
really
Oh, look
beats
at
the
him.
alternative.
Wow.
This is like a wax statue. I don't
That
know.
is a wax
Oh, is
statue.
it a-
That is
I was gonna
not Paul
say.
Hogan. What?
Holy moly!
What?
Look at that six pack.
He's
Is he
glistening.
related to Hogan's Heroes? Asks John Watson. Yeah, he is. They did the whole Hogan's Heroes thing, and he was the first hero. He was the first Hogan hero. And there was
he-
also a Hogan Family, as I recall, starring Sandy Duncan. It was like a
Oh,
1970s show. Check that out, Albert. I think that's right. There was
Google it.
is he related to Hulk Hogan?
the Hogan Family. It was called. And I think he is related to Hulk. I think he's Hulk Hogan's brother, is what I'm hearing.
No.
What?
No, it's none of that is true. Not, but I think the Hogan Family was a TV show.
Yeah, I
Did
think with
you-
Jason Bateman, I'm seeing here.
Oh yeah,
doing-
Jason Bateman, right? I bought a car from a salesman, says Tammy. Let me get this. Everything's coming in so fast, I can't. Please. I bought a car from a salesman, says Tammy, and he was a Paul Hogan impersonator. That is pretty great. I've actually put a shrimp on the Barbie, says John Slater. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Sandy Duncan, I thought was in, as it turns out, Jason Bateman. They couldn't give me a six-pack even if I was made of wax.
Oh, there she
okay.
is.
Yeah, the Hogan family.
Yeah.
Sandy Duncan, alive or dead?
Oh.
We know Jason Bateman's alive. Sandy
Yeah.
Duncan, alive or dead? I ask you, Albert.
I'm going to keep the theme. I think she's alive.
Kim, what do you think?
I'll stay alive this time.
I'm also going to go alive. Oh, wait. I might want to check. Hold on a second. I'm going to go dead.
Really?
I think she's passed away. Yeah, I think she's passed away. What's the answer, Albert? Sandy Duncan from the Hogan family. She was the it person for a while. Alive or dead?
She is alive. So
She's alive. Good for her.
Okay.
And I'm wrong. Very, very cool. Okay. All right.
A lot
According
of
to
lives.
Wikipedia, she's still active as an actress.
Oh, wow. Well, I really then did.
I misspoke.
Exactly.
I stand corrected.
Exactly. I want to
Copper says-
apologize.
And I wanted to
Alive?
apologize to the Asian community,
community.
the Asian American
I
community.
apologize. Yes. Yeah.
Alive and eating wheat thins. Remember
That's
she did
right,
that whole
she
wheat
did.
thin thing? Yeah.
She did a wheat. That's very good knowledge,
Yeah.
Copper. Very good knowledge. She did a wheat thins campaign. So, all right. Well, I'm glad we got all of that cleared up.
Yeah.
Michael Shore and Mo Kelly join us in hour 2. Michael
Woo.
Snyder, the Culture Blaster, in hour 2 as well. Hour 2 will be rocking. But at the bottom of this hour, hour 1, we'll talk to a great LA Times journalist. He does such wonderful stuff. In fact, you can find his columns in the LA Times, and it's one of the good things to find in the LA Times because there's less and less in the LA Times. I mean, I subscribe to the LA Times, and, like most papers, it's becoming, thinner and thinner as an offering. But Carlos's stuff is just so wonderful. And his takes on what's happening in Venezuela, his takes on what's happening in the immigrant community, those are really worth checking out. We'll talk to him bottom of this first hour. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am anxious to get into this Minnesota situation. It's only getting worse, frankly, as the government digs into a narrative that's clearly a fiction. And we'll talk a lot about this with Shure and with Mo Kelly in hour 2. And obviously, we'll talk a bit about this with Carlos as well, since it's happening. But and it's happening to the immigrant community, and I think he just has a good window on it. But this is an interesting series of events that followed the murder of at the hands of that ICE agent of Monday. Because was it Monday that it happened? When did this all go down? I believe it was it? And I'm losing track. And this is Friday, so I think it was Wednesday maybe that it happened.
Yeah, I think so.
But what's happening now is that the stories are becoming more dug in, and you're beginning to see the realities of an administration that doesn't want to yield to facts at all, doesn't want to yield to an investigation that would indeed lead to facts, right? They've boxed out, the FBI has, any kind of Minneapolis investigation. We were talking about this yesterday. And they're coming forward with their own versions of what's happening. Meantime, in the same area, there was a ICE show of force at was it a high school, the Roosevelt High School there in Minnesota?
There's discrepancies. The school was upset. They were worried that the ICE agents, there were reports ICE agents were rushing into the school trying to arrest staff and students. The ICE spokesperson says that's not what happened, that they were making a stop with a warrant and somebody ran into the school or near the school, that they were not there arresting anyone. So once again, you don't really get the it's up to you to interpret whether you believe the government or not.
So was there an incident where there were arrests involved, or what was the I'll play for you in a moment the reaction of Jesse Ventura, who is governor of Minnesota, and speaks to really what's happening not only in Minnesota, but what's happening nationwide in the U.S. But just give me a sense of, were there arrests there or not?
The Department of Homeland Security says they chased a suspect into Roosevelt High School, and witnesses said it was this chaotic scene. There were people running all over the place. It looks like there was possibly an arrest, but because there were so many ICE agents swarming the school, there was thinking that they were trying to arrest the students there, which, that's not done. We don't go into schools and we arrest people. So there were people living around in homes around the school that were spilling out of their homes and into the school trying to protest this.
Yeah,
chaos.
We're showing you pictures from it. I mean, it's just again, they come in and just stir up trouble. This is really what's happening in America now.
And clearly you can see this person face down in the snow. There was at least one person detained. They were apparently blowing whistles and screaming at Border Patrol people, get away from the school, get away from the students. Agents started scuffling with people. So this was a mess for the neighborhood, the school, ICE. I mean, it was just, it was nuts. And today, school is canceled after a raid at this high school.
And this brings me to the point, which is that, this sort of messing with communities, the way they're doing it, is serving a couple of purposes. They're getting rid of some of the, they're getting rid of some of the brown people that they want to get rid of. They're also creating a sense of anxiety, and there's an anxiety that leads to self-deportation in the parts of many of these immigrant communities. But beyond that, I'd say they're just effing with a lot of these blue cities and communities that otherwise would be proceeding without any sort of incident. I mean, again, it would be another day of kids going to school and learning. Instead, you have these thugs going in and stirring up trouble to the point that they have to cancel school. So you have really damage done to this community, damage done to kids, and the disruption of families as a result of the thuggery that has defined this administration and this entire move. Here is Jesse Ventura. Play a little bit of the former governor of Minnesota. He's obviously a celebrity and a high-profile guy, so on some level, we spark maybe to the platform that he has that others do not. But he also states things very bluntly, which is another reason that he is a celebrity, and it's another reason that he achieved some status as a politician. He's very authentic. Here were his remarks as he came out of Roosevelt High School, of which he's an alum.
We're a third world country now. You want to know why? I'm an expert. I've been to them. I spent 17 months in Southeast Asia while the draft dodger was playing golf, right? You know how I know we're a third world country? Because in third world countries, they have the military doing their police work in the cities when you walk around. I was in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and went under dictatorship. We went from nobody to a guy with a machine gun on every corner. That's what happens in a dictatorship. In comes the military. That's what's happening here. And people better wake up to it. You want to read something? Then read your history of Germany and start comparing the tactics of what happened in 1930s Germany to what's happening here.
I mean, that really, I think, states it bluntly. And he's not someone without a window, as he says, on the rise of dictators in third world countries. The idea that it's, my way or the highway, might makes right, all of these different adages, they're played out even in conversations with Donald Trump, the chief executive, who, when asked about international law in a wide-ranging 2-hour conversation with New York Times journalists there in the Oval Office, he said, I'm really bound by no other restriction than the ones I put on myself. My own morality is what he said. Isn't that right, Kim? I mean, it was remarkable.
Very scary. That's what he did. He gave an interview to the New York Times where he said, basically the only thing stopping him is his own sense of morality. Well, we've seen that didn't stop him from taking over a country, taking over cities all over the place, and threatening people and countries. And so I don't know if that's enough to make us all feel comfortable.
And it's an extraordinary thing. I mean, I just don't know how we countenance this. And increasingly, you're getting some pushback from some lawmakers, but in Donald Trump, who's turned this sort of thuggery that you're seeing now with, real damage to people being thrown to the pavement. These guys are ICE thugs without any training. They just outfit them with sidearms. They give them pepper spray. They pepper sprayed the crew that began to gather after they murdered that woman in the street, that award-winning poet, was it on Wednesday? Mm-hmm. So they pepper sprayed that crowd that showed up. So all I'm trying to say is that I think that when Ventura talks about the rise of a third world dictator, he's really right. And Trump himself would probably say, hey, if you want to call me a third world dictator, then call me that. I'm trying to get America back to where it should be. Trump is one of those guys who leans into that kind of thing. Call me whatever name you want, but I'm getting America back to where America should be. I mean, it is so upside down and so Orwellian that I was thinking about this earlier this morning, and I was just thinking, they're going to take this guy, what is his name, Jonathan Ross, so that you can see him pepper spraying here in the crowd that was gathering. Thank you, Albert. That's really
cool. But Mark, they were throwing snowballs at ICE agents.
I guess that's,
it sounds like fun and games, but I guess you could argue that snowballs could be hard and painful. I don't know.
Oh no, I don't. By the way, I don't think they should throw snowballs. I don't think that. I don't take that like, oh, they were throwing snowballs, so you guys are pepper spraying. No. Yeah. If you're throwing snowballs, then they're gonna. You're provoking some kind of response, and that response might even be pepper spray. So I get that. I'm not. When I say peacefully resist or peacefully protest, it doesn't mean show up and throw snowballs. That's not peacefully protesting. You just have to show up. Your presence is enough. Your eyewitnessing of various events is enough. Your recording of these things is enough. In the provocations that are associated with snowball throwing or throwing bottles or rock, that's a real provocation, and it's going to provoke a response. So in that sense, I suppose you begin a back and forth that you deserve, but that was a chaotic, reckless, grotesque act of murder on the part of that ICE agent, and I think the facts will bear that out, and I think the Minnesota state criminal action will end up charging him with murder. I think he'll stand trial for murder in Minnesota. Now, there is federal immunity, and we've talked about it all this week, but that federal immunity is not so sweeping that it sweeps away exposure for an act of murder. And so we'll see. I mean,
how can a state charge be brought without a state investigation? And we heard yesterday that the FBI is now withholding access to everything from the Minnesota State Bureau of Investigations. So they don't have access to the crime scene, to the witnesses, to the officers involved, anything.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, I mean, if you are involved in something with your ICE officer that would be exculpatory, that would show that he's blameless, or, then I would think you'd want that information out there. But that's not what we have. We have, as you said, a complete blockade, in a sense, of any information. They wouldn't even let investigative agencies near the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, meanwhile, 2 people were shot by a Border Patrol agent in Portland. It happened during a vehicle stop. This really isn't so different than the situation in Minneapolis, is it, Kim?
Except these people that were shot are alive and were not American citizens, according to the Department of Homeland Security. One of them, a woman, there was a couple, a man and a woman. The woman apparently was part of some, again, this is according to the Department of Homeland Security, connected to some prostitution ring linked to Tren de Agua. It wasn't some nice white lady in a van dropping her kid off at school coming to be an observer.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. There they are. And they're both alive to tell the tale.
The undertrained, poorly trained, and completely untrained ICE agents that perpetrate this kind of thing, these are those that are being conscripted in America's ICE thuggery. You don't have a group of people in this community of ICE agents that are trained law enforcement people. I mean, you people who have been in law enforcement, you're viewers of the show or listeners to the show, I mean, they train you, they talk about de-escalation of situations. I mean, there's real emphasis on this, particularly in the last decade or so, as so many of these incidents have led to real ugliness. You have none of that with these ICE thugs. These guys are just, as I said before, they're nightclub bouncers. They're guys who, wanted to play linebacker in the NFL and they couldn't make it. And so now they're ICE agents. I mean, there's literally no sort of training apart from teaching you how to show up, jump in your SUV, put on some vest that says ICE on it. You get your pepper spray, you get your gun, and then they drop you into these communities, and it's basically a chance to rough people up. So I think the comparisons to, which was kind of what Ventura was doing, to the rise of Nazi Germany, to the third world dictatorships that oftentimes depend on these kinds of secret police, roving militias. This is a very, if you will, classic way in which despots keep a population at bay, oftentimes a population that hates them. I mean, it's a fact that just because Donald Trump's numbers are way down, we always talk about, well, his approval numbers are down, his approval numbers are down. What do you think Maduro's approval numbers were? I mean, these aren't popular people. I mean, you'll never know what Putin's approval numbers are, but they're not good. I mean, despots don't have good approval numbers. They're keeping their citizenry at bay with intimidation, with fear. And that's exactly what's happening in America. Look, Donald Trump has already effectively completely cowed Congress, his own party, because they're scared. That's the reason that they won't rise up against him. They're worried about political violence. They're worried about reputational smear. They're worried about Trump turning that turret of revenge on them. Go against me and I will destroy you. That has really been the coin of Trump's realm. And so all of these people in his party on some level know this, and a very small number of them have stepped forward. In any case, that's, I think, a state of the state on Trump's general disposition and on where we are. But it's troubling in the extreme. I mean, 2 more people shot by a border agent in Portland. You have a murder on the streets of Minneapolis. These are thugs, and they're not going to stop there. Governor Walz has put the Minnesota National Guard on alert. This is because of protests that are rising across the state of Minnesota. And again, the DA in Minneapolis is saying there will be a probe, but the FBI has cut off coordinating any information that they're gathering. They're saying, we'll handle this. The same way the Catholic Church said, hey, we'll handle the investigation of sexual abuse of minors in the church. Don't worry about it. We got it handled. The name of this guy has been out there now pretty extensively yesterday. And apparently federal officers, in addition to, this is stuff that happened. His name is it Jonathan Ross? Is that the guy's name? Mm-hmm. Federal officers also blocked medics from the scene of the shooting, according to witnesses. We showed you some of that video yesterday. The doctor who was coming forward and was told, we've got our own medics, go away. So we'll watch this, discuss it more in hour 2, but that's the state of things at this moment. And as I say, I'd expect more of this, not less of this. What's that, Kim?
We had on the show the other day the mayor of Minneapolis. His name is Jacob Frey. And after the shooting, he gave a statement where he swore, but it was very passionate, where he was, saying ICE needs to leave right now, and he dropped an F-bomb, and he's being heavily criticized for that now.
Yeah, here's a response, and then I want to get to Gustavo. But let's see. This is the mayor of Minneapolis responding to the criticism that he used the F word in saying, I have a message for ICE, get the F out of Minneapolis. Now he responds to the criticism of his using that F-bomb and the nature of his rhetoric.
Kim, you'll have to press play for me.
Oh.
And now you'll have to press volume for him.
Yes. I stand by my statements. We stand by our statements. I'll look back to what I said. What I said was it was reckless abuse of power. Yes, it was a reckless abuse of power. I said that what the narrative that the administration was pushing in the immediacy following this shooting was garbage and false and BS. It was. I stand by every one of those. And, this notion of inflammatory comments, I mean, come on, guys. I dropped an F-bomb. They killed somebody. Which one of those is more inflammatory? I'm going with the killing somebody.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Mm-hmm. States it bluntly. Obviously, when he first made the comment, when he first came out so strongly, and he used that verbiage that was sort of incendiary, it got a lot of attention. And he was really applauded for that pushback. My God, this is an administration particularly, I mean, top to bottom, that is full of inflammatory rhetoric of all sorts. It's applauded by MAGA Nation. But if you have, I guess, Democratic mayor in Minneapolis responding to the grotesque murder of one of his residents on the streets of his city, responding in a similar fashion, it's decried, Anyway, that's bravo for him. He's 100% right. Smash the like button if you would. I've got to ask you to do that. That's the YouTube universe that we live in. Yeah, do it with your iron rod if you've got one handy.
With your iron rod.
Smash that thumbs up. And now I want you to meet a really super smart guy.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I read the LA Times. I like the LA Times. I read the opinion sections. I read the front page. I read the entertainment page. I read it all. It's just one of the papers I read, but I am particularly drawn to this guy's writings, and I'm glad to have him on the show. And he writes a lot about the immigrant community. He wrote a great column about Venezuela and about America taking over Venezuela, and about the fact that Marco Rubio, it's a point I made on this show, that Marco Rubio sort of has this weird relationship with a takeover of a country, given the fact that his family fled the takeover of Cuba by an American installed there at the top. Anyway, we'll get into some of that with Gustavo Arellano. Gustavo, welcome, sir.
It is an honor to speak to the Mark Thompson. I'm not trying to butter you up. I'm serious, Mark. Thank you for the kind words. I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Hey, give me a word or two before I get to Venezuela, because I do want to talk about Venezuela with you. But give me a word or two about what's happening with ICE agents on the streets.
Oh, I mean, my colleagues at the Los Angeles Times, we've been reporting it ever since the Border Patrol invaded Los Angeles. One of the important things that the rest of the country needs to realize is that Los Angeles gave the warning klaxon, if you will, the big, huge alarm saying, what happened to us is coming to you. And we have seen this in Chicago, in Charlotte, in New Orleans, in now Minneapolis, the largest one. And it's like a snowball turning into an avalanche of just a bunch of brutes and thugs who don't care about the law, who openly lie. The court records have proven it. Federal judges have called out the Border Patrol for their continued lying. And it is not going to stop until Donald Trump says so, or specifically Stephen Miller, and that's not going to happen. And so, and sadly, I called this. I'm glad that people are out there protesting against the death of that woman in Minneapolis, but people have been already killed before by ICE. In fact, the column that I wrote today was about an HBO documentary that focused on a gentleman, Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, who was killed 16 years ago in 2010, right on the U.S.-Mexico border in San Isidro, surrounded by a dozen Border Patrol agents. He was handcuffed, beaten, and tased. At first, they said he was resisting like an alligator, as a court deposition said. Then a reporter, who's one of the highlights of the film, found a videotape that showed Anastasio on the ground moaning while being tasered. That's not resistance at all. That was 16 years ago, and here we are today.
I mean, it was sort of a Rodney King type thing that you're describing that happened at the border.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You see the footage, and I urge everyone. It's called Critical Incident: A Death at the Border on HBO Max. It is an hour and a half, very short, but very well done, very disturbing, and sadly more timely than ever. That was Border Patrol. What we saw up in Minneapolis, that was ICE. Remember, they're separate agencies. But me, as a Mexican, and you should do this too, Mark, stop differentiating between ICE and Border Patrol. Just call them Migra. That's what they are, Migra.
Migra, and Migra is
just immigration. That's the old school name that back when it was got so many acronyms. Back when it was INS, the Immigration Nationalization Service. Back when the United States only needed one agency as opposed to all the beefed up agencies that we have today. Migra, short for Inmigración, immigration, of course. So Migra, M-I-G-R-A, Migra.
Critical Incident: Death at the Border is the HBO original documentary, and that's what, maybe we'll have a link to it. I guess you guys have HBO. You don't need it. I would rather have a link to Gustavo's stuff. I'll have a link to your writings and your columns. Let me follow up and just ask you then, because I think you are close to this community that right now is most affected. I don't think that any community is safe. I think that it's always the head of the spear is as one community, but further on down the way, it'll be a number of other communities and a number of other races, ethnicities, religions, whatever that may be affected. So, socioeconomic classes. Tell me what the play is from here. You said, this won't stop until Donald Trump, stops it, or Stephen Miller stops it. Well, that's not going to happen. What can the people do? What do the people of these communities do?
They are already doing it, and it's been happening almost from the beginning. I could specifically speak about Southern California, because in Southern California, with the election of Trump, you started having groups planning for this day, organizing these ICE watches. In other words, just regular citizens, not just Latinos, not just people with relations to folks who are undocumented, but people of all races, all classes, anyone who basically opposes tyranny. Okay, know your rights, be a watcher, protect, do neighborhood roaming around, just walk around, making sure if you see ICE, then, you have text messages, text chains and all of that, videotape them, all of that. It's a multi-pronged effort of resistance. Some people do that. Some people you are fighting in the courtrooms through lawsuits. Some people are just videotaping. Some people are just tweeting. Some people are doing what's called community buyouts. You have street vendors, people usually middle-aged and above, trying to make a living, literally trying to do the thing that the Trump administration has always said about immigrants, that they don't work, or conversely, they're not working, but they're stealing American jobs. Go figure that one out. But that's what you do every which way possible. And that's what I think has angered the Trump administration the most. They, as you mentioned earlier, with the Republican Party leadership especially, they have just kowtowed with our tech overlords. They have all basically treated Trump as this grand vizier that we must all lay supplicant to. And community has said no. And that angers Trump, that angers Miller, that angers all of them. And that's why they're swinging harder and harder. But at a certain point, something's got to give, something's got to break. And I think we've seen this week. You talked about how it's now affecting not just the undocumented community. It never just affected the undocumented community. Here again in Los Angeles, we had American citizens, veterans of our armed forces being dragged, being pepper sprayed. You had Trump supporters, my God, people who voted for Trump getting caught up in this. And now this week, what did we have? Up in Northridge, a black gentleman got shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent. We don't know all the story yet, but according to the government, because the government never stops to investigate, the ICE agent felt he was in fear of his life. His family members were saying he was shooting for New Year's, to sell it with a gun for New Year's Day. That's a black gentleman up in Northridge. In Minneapolis, as we've already seen far too often, you have a white woman, a citizen, getting gunned down after she tried to drive away from ICE. So, folks, if you are not Latino and if you have no connection to undocumented folks at all, and you think this is not going to affect me, no. This is the most disturbing thing about all of this. You have this massive buildup of a military force. I mean, they call themselves law enforcement, but Border Patrol calls themselves paramilitary, the likes of which we've never seen. After a while, you think they're just, and this is the interesting thing, the far right, we're talking about straight up neo-Nazis, they are opposed to this buildup of ICE because they say, what, you think after they get rid of all the quote-unquote illegals, they're going to stop there? No. Once you give power to anything, once you build up military forces, they do not want it. They're not going to go gently into that good night. Do we not study Imperial Rome, for crying out loud? All these right-wingers love the classics. We know what happened to Rome. We know what happened to all of that. Once evil people are in charge of a paramilitary, and once a paramilitary becomes its own ruling entity, they're not going to stop at anything.
Well, that brings me to Venezuela, because the view that Donald Trump has is one of an expansionist, imperialist state. It's almost a royalist kind of view he has of the world. It's a bizarre throwback almost to the 1800s. But Venezuela is an interesting case, and you've written a lot about it, and you know a bunch about it. There's a lot going on there. I wonder if you can give me a beat or two about the Venezuelan flex and what's really going on there in your view.
This president ran on the day of nation building is over. The day of interventionism is over. The day of internationalism is over. I actually believe him. I still believe him on that, because there is a caveat to this. And this has been, by the way, the default setting of American foreign policy. We don't want expansionism unless it's Latin America, because Latin America is not international. It is ours. That is literally what the Monroe Doctrine, done by James Monroe so long ago, is about. It's like Latin America is ours. We reserve the right to go in whenever we want. We have a long record of imperialism in the region. And Donald Trump, the one thing I could say about Donald Trump, at least he's not lying about it. At least him and his toadies are saying, yeah, colonialism's cool. You had Stephen Miller saying on social media, oh, after World War II, the idea of that all these empires started giving freedom to their vassals, that's just dumb. That's just neoliberalism. That's disgusting is what it is.
And, you know, the Rubio thing is wild because Rubio really is running interference for Trump, and he's kind of trying to spin some legitimacy to a lot of this stuff. And I'm wondering if you can give me a moment on that, because I thought you wrote quite well about that the other day.
Everyone likes to hate on Stephen Miller. The most despicable person in that administration is Marco Rubio, because this is a man who in 2016 compared Trump's rhetoric to a third world despot, his words, not mine, maybe the despot part I forget, and then went on with Jake Tapper on CNN and said, we are going to look back years later, and the people who supported Trump in the media, voters and all that, they're going to regret it because it is not going to end pretty. And where is Rubio? Right there shaking hands, endorsed Trump. This is a man, look, his thing has always been, I want to free the land of my parents and grandparents, Cuba. Okay, that's cool. You have it. But are you so despicable that you're going to sell out your own values and you're going to associate with your own devil, the man that you called out very eloquently in 2016? You're going to sell out your own principles for that? I have more respect for people who don't hide their evil, like Trump or Miller, than people who try to mask themselves. That's why in my columna, I call them the ultimate vendido, the ultimate sellout. Selling out your people is the original sin of Latin America, going back to the indigenous tribes who teamed up with the conquistadors to take down the Aztec and Incan empires. And here we are. There's Rubio. I love that photo because that's straight up like Godfather 2. Marco Rubio is low rent Tom. Oh my gosh,
Fredo.
No, Tom Hayden. No.
Tom Hayden, sure, the consigliere. Yeah.
Tom Hagen, yes, Tom Hagen, the consigliere, just whispering in the Godfather's ear. And guess what, Rubio? At the end, the Godfather got rid of Tom Hagen as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's no safe place in the Trump administration, but Rubio is doing a lot of the heavy lifting to somehow legitimize what is an imperialist flex across Latin America. You see Venezuela as the beginning? Do you really see? One of the things Venezuela has is resources that Cuba doesn't have. But you think because of Rubio that Trump will likely make the Cuba move also? I think it's a little more of a high wire act, Cuba.
What he wants is, again, he's not in the process of nation building. He is in nation extracting. He talked to my tocayo, Colombian President Gustavo Petro. Tocayo means guy with the same name in Spanish. Because remember, he was telling Gustavo Petro to watch his ass, and apparently they had a conversation. I wonder what that was about. He's a shakedown person. Same thing with Mexico. I know he came out on Fox News. I haven't seen the interview from yesterday, but apparently he told Hannity that, yeah, we're going to start bombing cartels in Mexico. Never mind that the United States and Mexican government have been trying to crack down on cartels for decades. They have had good relationships in doing that. Because what he's going to go to Mexico then and say, okay, I won't do it, but you have to give us this, this, and that. That's all he wants. He is extractive. He is not building anything. He is a president of failures.
This is a shakedown in each case, is what you're saying. And so all of these things are being used as excuses just for the shakedown.
Case-by-case basis. Argentina, again, we're not going to intervene. No, let's give Javier Milei a $20 billion bailout. And I'm sure Milei, and same thing with Bukele in El Salvador, the dictator there. All right, well, we'll be, we're going to pay you, and in exchange, you're going to be a third country where we could just start deporting people in your horrendous prisons. Everything is a shakedown for Trump. There is nothing about liberty for him. Him telling the New York Times that nothing can stop me except my own morals. Look, I am a Democrat, but only because I lost a bet a long time ago. I have criticized Democrats as ruthlessly as Republicans. You could look it up. But when it comes to partisanship, to what's right and what's wrong, I use this litmus test. If it was the opposing party saying the things that you're criticizing or you're defending, would you stand by it? If Obama was saying my morals govern where this country's going, Republicans would rightfully be up in arms. But because it's Trump, it's like, oh yes, dear leader, yes, dear leader. Can we lick your boots even more? It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, I think that is a great litmus test we all should use. Look, I want to link to your stuff. Do you, in addition to the LA Times, do you have a website or something where all of your columns live or all of your writings are?
The best way is I do have a website, GustavoArellano.org. I don't update it because what I do, I have a weekly newsletter. It's free. So every Saturday morning, I send out my newsletter. I link up to all the articles I've done in the week, all the media appearances like this one. It'll be in the newsletter tomorrow that have come in the, in the previous week. I do my own little dispatches. Sometimes it's personal. Sometimes I highlight stuff. That's just the best way, because social media, I'm on it because a reporter has to be on it, but it's mostly garbage at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm hip. So on the Gustavo Arellano newsletter, how do we link to that? Because that's what I'll link to.
Yeah, I mean, if since you have the opportunity, it's GustavoArellano.beehive, BEEHIIV.com. That's the most direct link.
Did you get that, Albert? Because Albert's the one who has to do this.
Thank you, Albert.
Albert, did you get it? GustavoArellano.beehive.
There it is.
There it is.
The
I
only
love it.
platform
Albert,
that
look
matters.
at you. Very, very impressive. I'm impressed with my sometimes distracted producer.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. Gustavo, I'm such a fan. Let's do this again. Keep writing. Keep doing what you're doing. It's just terrific, and I can't wait till the next time. Thank you.
You say when, Mark. Gracias.
Okay. Gracias a ti. See you, baby. Gustavo Arellano. Right on. I love it. I love it. I love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is the real thing. We'll link to that website so you can become a reader of his stuff and get the newsletter, and you will be pleased. If you're not familiar with him, you'll get familiar and you'll become a fan, as am I. Do I have to do Florida here, or what do I have to do here before I just kind of lose track of the time a bit?
Florida's in the second hour now.
Yeah,
oh, that's right. I love it.
I was like, why are you saying goodbye to Gustavo, man? We still have some time.
I'm sorry.
All right. He was really good, by the way. I liked him.
He's the best. He'll be back. He'll be a regular, I think. Gustavo is a very good guest.
Yeah.
Says Carol Ford. Yes. Thank you, Gustavo. Says Obi-Wan. Yeah. Gustavo's a real thing. I'm telling you. Stick around. You'll meet some good people here. Mas Gustavo, por favor. Yeah, Phineas says. Yeah, we will have more of Gustavo. What was I saying? Something about the coffee? Yeah, it's Coachella Valley coffee. It is so good. And you can get it at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I want you to go there, get the tea. The tea's amazing as well. We were having a big conversation about the tea the other day.
I have my Moroccan mint tea in the
Rockin' the Moroccan, baby.
Yeah.
And that is, I remind you, available to all of you. You can live the big banging life that Kim McAllister lives. That's
Kim,
right.
how are you?
You can have the Rockin' Moroccan, or the ginger mint, or the mango.
All of those are
Tango with the mango, baby. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Very good. Very
Crank
good.
up your sexy with CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Teas, coffees. They have a turmeric chai,
My daughter
mango,
loved that one. Yeah.
Earl Grey, jasmine. Oh, my goodness. Wondrous flavorings. Magnificent tasting notes. Yes, it's all so wonderful. Yes. Okay, so it's CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. But the key for you is that, and they're tasting profiles on all the beans, hand roasted. This is a boutique roastery. This is not some discount roastery. So I want you to use our discount code to give you a little bit of a discount, 10% off on anything. So you get teas, coffees, spices, 10% off. Mark T is the discount code. Use it. Abuse it. Mark T at checkout gets you 10% off. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It is the end of a democratic republic. There is a rise of despotism, a real authoritarian flex that is being played out in so many different ways on the streets of America, across American foreign policy as well, as we were saying. There was a tanker, another tanker, a fifth tanker now that's been boarded. The video, of course, they share with us. They don't want to share that second video of the double tap strike on those sailors because that is damning. But this is the stuff that the Pentagon likes to share because this shows American firepower. You can see the SEAL teams drop down, or SEAL team equivalents drop down on these tanker ships. In this case, you can see
it's like a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Cover me. Here you go.
Right, and this really does appeal to, and I'll say this, it kind of appeals to everybody in the sense like, wow, this is cool watching this. And so this takeover of this vessel is complete. It's the fifth one of these tanker ships that's been taken. Kim, was there any other detail that we should know about that?
No, just that we've taken it over. Again, as he mentioned, it's the fifth tanker that the United States has dropped down upon and commandeered.
Yeah. So, again, this in itself, I think, look, it's all of a kind, but I do think that this administration is playing with fire. And so I worry about all of these moves being made. I mean, I mentioned Greenland to you. I explained yesterday why the Greenland thing makes absolutely no sense. You have, and I mentioned it as an adjacent fact because I think this is all sort of, again, of a sort. So Greenland, just to, in 30 seconds or less, you have full, essentially, liberty to set up whatever you want militarily. If it's really a security issue that you're concerned with, you can do it in Greenland. You have, under provisions of an existing pact, you have military power that can be set up with additional military bases. There's one now. You could set up more if you wanted. You could house personnel there. It's all covered under this treaty. Now, what Donald Trump wants to do, we hear from Marco Rubio, if it's spin, if it's reality, I don't know. He wants to buy Greenland now. Now, again, it may be, I'll make you an offer you can't refuse because it's sort of at gunpoint type thing. But the reason it's particularly problematic is it's not the Danes' place to sell Greenland. They don't have that power for any amount of money. By treaty, again, there is total control of Greenland's future by the inhabitants of Greenland. So you need to actually organize a vote, and those inhabitants of Greenland would then have to allow the Americans to buy Greenland. So the workaround for Trump on that is to do what, Kim?
Offer money to Greenlanders?
Offer money to Greenlanders, exactly. I'll give you a bunch of dough, and you'll let me take your country.
$100,000 for a yes vote.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I guess it's just an odd thing. There's so little money for SNAP programs, for health care, for any number of things in this country. We just don't have the money. But to pay off Greenlanders to take over Greenland and call it Trumpland or whatever they're going to do,
oh my gosh,
there is the money for that.
I bet he will try to name it after himself.
Yeah. I mean, why not? He has said that he will accept the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Peace Prize, secondhand. That is to say, if the Nobel Prize winner wants to come to Washington and give him the Nobel Prize, and there has been talk of that, he would accept it.
Isn't that silly?
Inside reporting.
I mean, it's not even meant for him. How is that an honor?
Give me her name again, Kim. She her name escapes me. I'm sorry, but she was spoken of, and she was very anti-Maduro. She's kind of MAGA-y. I was weird when she was announced as the Nobel Prize winner. All of the people who, all the anti-Trumpers, and I get it, sort of go, yeah, that'll show Trump that, but look who they gave the Nobel Prize to. Essentially,
her name is Maria Corina Machado. She's
yeah.
the
So Maria,
Venezuelan opposition leader. Yeah.
So Maria Machado, the opposition leader, thank you, Kim, to Maduro, again got this Nobel Peace Prize, and it was suggested, and this is based on inside reporting, that had Machado said, I don't want it, I think Donald Trump is more deserving, had said that to the Nobel Committee, that Trump would have then been so positively disposed to Machado that they would have installed Machado as president of Venezuela. That is based on apparently reputable reporting, multiple corroborations of that reporting inside the White House, which is just insanity. But in a way, it's an insanity that makes sense with this crew. But in any case, she's going to meet with Trump, and she's, I think, quacking as though she's going to try to give him the Nobel Prize. Now, the Nobel Prize Committee, just as an aside, I mean, again, I have to say something as an aside to the aside.
Mm-hmm.
The Nobel Prize is like all these other prizes and every other prize. There's a politics to it. There's a questionable legitimacy to it. You know this if you watch the Oscars. You go, how come that movie won? I thought my movie was much, much better than that movie. Well, because it's not really about the movie quality and how can you compare these things. They're different, completely works of art, if you want to think of them that way, creative expressions. Similarly here, how do you compare the work of Machado as an opposition leader to Maduro to somebody who's working in the soup kitchens of some destitute community in, in India? I mean, the point is, it's not fair, right? But nonetheless, this is what we're talking about, the Nobel Peace Prize, and it is a very high-profile prize. So the Nobel Committee, and this is now back to the first aside, is saying, dude, that's not the way it works. You can't, say if the Nobel Prize is given to Mark Thompson and Mo Kelly should have gotten it, I can't say, hey, you know what? Thank you, I'm flattered, but really Mo Kelly deserves the Nobel Prize, and you hand it off to Mo Kelly. That's just not the way that they're not cool with that.
No,
so,
if they wanted to honor Mo Kelly in this case, they would have, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So they're saying, Mr. President, you can take the prize from Machado if she gives it to you, but we don't recognize your legitimacy as the Nobel Peace Prize winner. So he really wants that Nobel Peace Prize. And it's such a wild thing because he's got agents shooting people who are his citizens on the streets of America. He's taking over Venezuela. He is talking about taking over Greenland. He smack talks Canada and Mexico, smack talks Colombia, and says, you'll be next. I mean, he pursues this kind of gunboat diplomacy, and still he's campaigning for the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, it's utterly crazy. I mean, there's an absolute absurdity to the whole thing. So, all right. I'm bringing on Mo. I don't know if Michael is with us today. Is he or not? I didn't.
I thought he was. He might pop in. I'm not sure.
I don't know. But if it's just Mo, it's that's plenty. Wall to wall Mo is something I'm good with.
I like
so yeah, me too. So
and I miss this guy. I haven't seen him in a couple weeks.
Yeah, let's do it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Thank you for being here for hour 2. We are a live show, 2 to 4 in the East, 11 to 1 in the West, and this guy is most wonderful. Before I bring him on, I'm going to do something weird, which is bring him on, and then I have to leave, and Kim is going to...
What?
Yeah, I know. He's going to squire us through the last hour.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
I know. I am telling you. So it's...
they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I know. I again...
I'm sorry.
I will be listening and watching, but I will tell you that Friday Fabulous Florida is still coming. The Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder will be here. And as I say, there'll be a really good conversation between Mo and Kim. But now let me welcome him. He is a terrific friend to this show, and I have such mad respect for his takes. He is a brilliant guy. Mo Kelly, everybody.
Well, I got to say, first, good afternoon, Happy New Year. And that will be the first and hopefully the last time that I'm ever connected to a Nobel Peace Prize conversation. I'm honored, but undeserving. And unlike what the president may think, the Nobel Peace Prize is not like a communicable disease. It's not like herpes. You just can't give it to someone, if you choose to do that. It's not something that you can regift. It's non-transferable.
I love the regift. Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a regift attempt. I mean,
That's not fake.
Yeah,
that's real.
And when you're asking for the regift, I mean, it's pretty low rent, but there's nothing, that's too low rent for this guy.
So tacky.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Before you go, do you want to ask Mo about the January 6th?
Thing? Well, here on Friday, just because on Fridays we kind of look back at the week, and January 6th obviously was something that was talked about this week in a high-profile way, and the way it's been reconstituted, Mo, was something I was talking about on January 6th. The way it's been reframed, and I was suggesting that the reconstitution of January 6th and the reframing of January 6th is kind of what's happened to American politics and American culture. You now have your own facts. You now can pretty well, basically, all those who were talking about the lawlessness that was the acts of January 6th, the takeover of government, the attempted coup, all of these people in Congress I'm talking about who spoke of it on the floor with passion, with emotion, the fact that those who perpetrated this would be held accountable. All of those people have now just come on over to the new narrative, which is January 6th is actually a patriotic act that was attempted by so many patriots who felt the calling to stop what was a stolen election. There is a plaque that was, as you know, legislated to be put up at the Capitol to honor and commemorate the event and to honor in particular, the police officers who helped protect the Capitol. That plaque is not up. It's legislatively compelled to be erected, and they're not putting it up because of the blowback and because of the fear of this president's wrath. I want to play for you a little Sheldon Whitehouse, who made these comments about January 6th. Then I'll shut up and I like your comments. We could talk about other stuff. Go ahead, Albert.
One of the symptoms of Trumpism, frankly, of authoritarianism generally, is the obligation to lie. You're not on the team, you're not in the club, you're not part of the movement if you're not willing to lie for it. MAGA world had decided that no crimes were committed that day. Well, that's new. At the time, Senator Ted Cruz described those crimes as a violent terrorist attack on the Capitol. At the time, Senator John Cornyn said those who planned and participated in the violence that day should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. At that time, Senator Josh Hawley said, those who attacked police and broke the law must be prosecuted. Republican colleagues also once denounced pardoning rioters, particularly violent rioters. Vice President Vance said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. Secretary Kristi Noem said, we can't have a blanket approach. I would say each one of those cases need to be looked at specifically. And Senator Hawley again, I'm against it for people who assaulted cops, threw stuff at cops, broke down doors, broke windows. Well, Trump came in and he issued that blanket pardon virtually right away. So instead of this being a bipartisan expression of gratitude and appreciation, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle seem to be away.
Yeah, they seem to be away. And now the White House retooling the White House website to flip what actually happened and blame Capitol Police. What are your thoughts 5 years later on January 6th and where we stand?
I'm a student of history, and I know that history is usually written, or actually always written, by the victors. And you can parse who is the victor in all this, but history, historically, was written in a way where you couldn't necessarily disagree with all of it or some of it, because we didn't necessarily always have the pictorial history, the audio history, the video history. Right. And so some things you would allow the benefit of the doubt as far as the telling of history. But we all saw this. We all experienced it. Most importantly, we all remember it. We remember the violence of it. We remember the chants from it. We remember the gallows, which were outside of the mall. There's really nothing to dispute about what we saw or what we heard. This total revisionism of this history is what gets me, is because we all saw it. I don't need someone to tell me this is what happened in 1875, and then I have to kind of take it or leave it because I didn't live through that time. No, I remember it, and I can pull up the videos as Sheldon Whitehouse was referring to for myself.
You remember the members of Congress crouching down behind chairs in the upper gallery. You remember the sitting vice president of the United States running through the halls of Congress, trying to get to a place of safety because of the impeding crowd coming through down the hallway.
You know, and I expect all politicians, regardless of their political stripes, to lie. Now, there are varying degrees in which they'll lie, but the lying with impunity today in 2026 now is such that there is no consequence for the lying, and the people who have the same technology available to them as you and I have are willing to buy into the lies and promulgate those lies. I just don't understand how we as a country got to this place where the truth not only is fungible, but no longer matters in the telling of history. That dismays me greatly. And it says to me that now that it can be done, it will continue to be done. And I'm not sure that there's any way back from this. Even when Trump is no longer on the political scene and the head of MAGA, it seems like that there's now this super serum that will forever be used, because there is now this blueprint for them to use where you don't need to tell the truth. You don't need to be honest. In fact, you can legislate dishonesty into everything you do, because who is going to stop you if you happen to be in power?
I was hearing yesterday this man who was convicted but then pardoned for his role in January 6th, who says he got swept up and into the Capitol, now saying, you know, hey, it's time to forgive and it's time to move on. And we're never going to get past this if we don't forgive the people that were involved there. I'm still angry about it 5 years later, Mo, and I still feel like this is one of the worst things that ever happened. These people tried to steal our vote, our voice, and our democracy.
I believe, and there's a connection here, and this is just my belief. I can't necessarily qualify it or quantify it, but I definitely believe that this is still a remnant of the failure of Reconstruction and what we did not do in the wake of the Civil War. If we had treated the losers of the Civil War in the way they should have been treated, as in not erected monuments in remembrance of them or celebrated some of them, and treated them in the way that Germany treats the Nazi Party, then I don't think we would have been on this path to where we are now, where you still have, like, for example, the Confederate flag being marched through the White House, that you don't have these insurrectionists, for lack of a better word, trying to tear down the government, because there would have been some sort of historical record of what happens to those who try to uprise against the government. And since we didn't handle the Civil War correctly in the aftermath, and we've not handled January 6th correctly in the aftermath, we have said that it is okay in many ways, and we will see more incidents like this. In the way that it's happening right now, it allows for it in the future, the lying, the rewriting of history on a federal level. It's one thing when you have Fox News or Newsmax or OAN distorting the facts and lying. It's another thing when you have it from whitehouse.gov.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's another thing completely. I don't know. I have to tell you, I was very disappointed in the Biden administration, when clearly there's a need for new policies, for a way to protect America from this ever happening again. And as you say, it's maybe well rooted in history, but at least there could have been some things done where we better protect American democracy. And I don't feel like anything was done.
No, there seems to be this assumption, and it's a continuing assumption, that our norms, our institutions, our existing laws are enough, or there are enough good Americans who will stand in the breach and make sure that what is happening right now would never happen. And that has not been the case. I thought we had misplaced trust in Merrick Garland. I think there was a misplaced trust in the co-equal branches of government, and this idea that you couldn't have a dictatorial president because Congress would be able to step in, or the SCOTUS would have some sort of limitations on a wayward president. That has been proven untrue. And since, in actuality, the next time we do get a Democratic president, I'm quite sure the Republicans will bend over backwards to make sure that there are some sort of guardrails to keep a Democratic president in check. And that's more an extension of hypocrisy. But as far as the Biden administration, they made I don't know if it's a mistake or an error, however you want to characterize it, but it does fall on their shoulders and responsibility for not doing more. Or maybe they didn't perceive that there was an actual threat that Donald Trump would become president again. And maybe that's that arrogance, which not only lost them the election, but the arrogance which lost them, I would say, the heart of many Americans. And that's why we're here.
Speaking of threats, here's Luis, who throws down a $10 super chat. He says in his next one, an ICE mass casualty event, to blaming victims, claiming they were part of organized radical group, mass riots in response, occupation of U.S. cities, no elections, courtesy of martial law. Of course, talking about what happened in Minnesota with this ICE agent who opened fire on this woman. There are now protests going on. We've got another double shooting with ICE agents opening fire on someone that a couple in Portland, and more protests there. Those people survived the shooting, from what I understand. This is getting really messy, really crazy. In Minnesota, Governor Walz is calling out the National Guard in an effort to protect the citizens who are rising up. This is a scary time that we have right now.
It's a scary time. I'm not going to use the phrase that we're on the verge of civil war. I do not believe that, but I think we're a lot closer to widespread mass political and civil unrest, more so than any time in my lifetime, maybe since 1968, which barely precedes me. And if I were Vladimir Putin, I would say, damn it, we succeeded. Fomenting the distrust in the institutions and our government and democracy more generally. That's what Vladimir Putin was trying to do as far as influencing our elections, and he has been successful. Rome did not fall because of an outside exterior adversary. Rome crumbled from within. And I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that the United States is crumbling, and from within our own institutions, our own politicians, our own president. We have brought ourselves here. Now, we can parse blame and say it's more the blame of the Republicans and Donald Trump, but varying levels of government through ignorance or underestimation have allowed us to get to this point, and not perceiving the bad actors and those who are actual threats to the government, and treating them as legitimate threats, which goes back to the mishandling of January 6th. And you can see the meme all the time where they said January 6th should have been the end of Donald Trump. Yes, it should have been. But the moment it was clear that it wasn't, we should have been doing more than just the court cases, more in terms of legislation. And we missed the moment then. We missed the moment as far as electing Kamala Harris in 2024. And I still believe we're missing the moment now because we have not really collectively come to grips with the level of threat that we're dealing with.
We are being told by Trump, Noam, Vance, that the video we're seeing out of Minneapolis of that shooting isn't what we're seeing. They're trying to take it, as they did with January 6th and the revisionist history, and tell us that we're not really seeing what it is that we're seeing. Is this the moment that Americans, even Trump supporters who may be on the edge already, feeling like there are things that were promised, like arresting the criminals, ICE arresting true criminals, and we're now seeing that they're arresting anybody and everybody that looks brown, that we were supposed to be country America first and not nation building, and now here we are taking Venezuela. I wonder if the actual visual of here's the video you saw and here's how they're spinning it and telling you that's not what you really saw, is that the moment that people will realize they lie?
I don't think so. And this is more of what I mean by this, when they're allowed to lie with impunity. Going back to 2024, in the months leading up to the election, there was at least this thin veneer of legitimacy about, hey, we're concerned about the price of eggs. We're concerned about the price of gas. We're concerned about illegal immigrants. We're concerned about crime. That was the thin veneer as far as how it was being packaged and sold to voters who may not have been far left, but they might have been moderate left or center right. And a lot of people bought into that. Now that we've seen, since that thin veneer no longer exists and there are no consequences to anything, you have the Trump administration leaning as like, yeah, I know, we were just bullshitting. This is exactly what we are now. We are actually after the brown people. We will lie about it. We will arrest them. We will shoot them. And you know why? Because there is not one person who will stop us. The SCOTUS has ruled time and time again. They're largely not going to intervene. The Democrats cannot do anything because they are the statistical minority in both houses, and they don't have enough votes on the Supreme Court. And they are doing a full court press with everything they want to do. They are catering to their worst impulses because not only can nobody stop them, there is, I would say, a segment of society. I want to be very careful how I say this. A segment of society who may not be registered Republicans, who are okay with a lot of what they're seeing, but verbalizing it publicly would be unpopular. There's a segment of America who is okay with the victimization of brown people and black people. There's a segment of society who may not have a registered R by their name, but they are okay with the way that this Trump administration is rolling out.
Don't you feel, though, and while that's the case, that there are a lot of people with the R by their name who aren't okay with this? Because there's a difference between Republicans and MAGA.
There is, but I don't know how much daylight there is. And I'm not a person who believes the polls, but I'll use it as an example where if you show the Trump administration or Donald Trump has, I don't know, some 90% approval rating within the Republican Party, it says to me, yes, the Republican Party most definitely is buying into that Trumpism. So yes, there is more of a sense of glee from the Republican side. I don't know if America's being honest in the sense of how much they may dislike any of this. There are those who I talk to, and this is anecdotal, who do not like the chaos. They feel uncomfortable with the chaos of what's going on in America from day to day. But they like how the stock market looks. Mm-hmm. They like how the immigration numbers at the southern border are going down. I'm talking about Republicans. In other words, there are no adverse effects or consequences for many Republicans within their belief systems. So if the people who are being most adversely affected or harmed are people who do not look like them, who do not live near them, who do not interact with them, I don't know if it changes the vote for them, with the exception of their local congressional leaders and local leaders. So I do believe the Democrats are going to take back the House because we're only talking about a 3-seat switch, and that will do that. I don't know if it's going to be some overwhelming blue wave.
Mm-hmm. To stick with Minnesota for a minute, I think it used to be, I don't know, radical to think that to not trust in your government, to not trust in an FBI investigation or the Supreme Court. And more, I feel like, am I radical? Am I somehow on the fringe? Or am I part of a majority of Americans who look at what's happening and don't trust it? Now we have in Minnesota the FBI taking over and not allowing Minnesota to investigate what happened with the ICE shooting. And I don't trust that an FBI investigation will come out with any other, final conclusion as to ICE officer was in the right, everything's fine. Does that outrage you, or am I on the fringe, or do you think most people feel that way?
No, it's a great point, but we need to put it within the historical timeline. Prior to Donald Trump coming on the scene, you had a general sense of trust in America's institutions. Now, we may wax and wane about local law enforcement, but we trusted in our government. Generally, we trusted in the office of the president. We trusted that our government was just not going to outright lie to us with things that we could see for ourselves. That was prior to Donald Trump. Now, there is legitimate evidence to not trust our government, but because of what Donald Trump has done as far as breeding distrust, some people, if you don't understand the history, think it's all the same. Some Republicans say, see, we told you we couldn't trust the government. No, we are saying that prior to now, you didn't have an FBI director or a president or a vice president or a secretary of Homeland Security who would just lie about a video we all saw at the same time about the basic facts. If you were watching or following Frank Figliuzzi, a longtime FBI director, he was saying that in his 25 years of working for the FBI, never was there investigation where they shut out local officials. So there are the feelings and the perception of something being different or distrustful, but there's also facts to undergird it, where we can point to this is different. That is different. That is a lie. We don't need someone to tell us that they're a lie. Or in other words, it's not like we're thinking conspiratorially. We can look at it. We can see the video for ourselves. We can see January 6th in 2021 for ourselves. I don't need to listen to the government. I know that was an insurrection. I know that ICE agent was not in mortal danger. I know that he shot that woman 3 times in the face and he didn't have to. And so when you have a Secretary of Homeland Security come out and say it's domestic terrorism, it's like, what in the hell are we having here? What is going on? So the difference is you're not being conspiratorial, to answer your question. You're not on the fringe. You are a reasonable, rational person who can take facts and then distill them and analyze them and know that the sky is blue as opposed to green, what they're telling you.
Yeah, I agree. I'll let you respond to Cece Ryder, who throws in 10, and thank you, Cece. She says, Mo, I firmly believe old school, outdated Democratic operative thinking of we must come together is a big root cause for fascism exploding in this country. She says these operatives are not fit for the moment.
Yeah, let me put it another way. The Democrats for the past 10 years have been bringing pillows to a knife fight. And they're not the right tools for the time in which we live. And I'm not saying that they need to bring a knife to that knife fight, but they need some sort of tactic or weapon which at least acknowledges or protects against the knife. Because the pillow can neither provide adequate offense or defense. And the Democratic Party has been so slow to adapt to MAGA. And that's part of the reason why we're here right now. And that's also part of the reason why the surge in popularity of Gavin Newsom, if only because from a social media standpoint, his team kind of gets it. Okay, we're in an unconventional time, so we need to approach America in an unconventional way. And that's part of the reason I believe he's gained traction. That's not going to be enough, but at least it signifies an acknowledgement that the old rules do not apply. The old techniques do not apply. The old weapons, if you will, air quotes, do not apply. And so, yes, I agree. The Democratic Party has been woefully underprepared and slow in response to meet the threat and the challenges of this day.
I want to ask you about Venezuela as well, but you mentioned Governor Gavin Newsom, and yesterday he gave the California State of the State address. It's the final one of his gubernatorial experience, and I thought it was weird. He wasn't the normal Gavin Newsom. It was very rehearsed. His movements didn't seem genuine. It was very strange. Here's a little bit of it. I think Albert has it.
I'm getting the correct timestamp. Give me 30 more
okay.
seconds.
Give me a second. Yeah.
I saw it. I watched it. I'm glad you brought it because I watched it twice last night. I actually watched it once.
Yeah.
And I listened to it all more than an hour of it because I wanted to perceive it differently. And to your point, you are correct. It was very rehearsed. It was very stilted. It was very formulaic. But there are two things here. He wasn't really speaking to the legislators in the room. He was speaking more broadly to Americans in general. He was actually giving a presidential speech. It's like if you just listened to it and didn't know that it was the state of the state, you would think that this is a campaign speech for president, which it was.
But I wonder, is someone telling him that this is the way to act presidential? That this rehearsed, kind of more fluid arm movements, it just isn't him. I don't think if this is what is going to happen when he runs for president, if this is the Gavin Newsom that will be presented to America and not the Gavin Newsom that we know in California, I don't see him being as successful. Let's take a listen, Albert.
Communities rewriting history, censoring historical facts. Their politics, some politics of some twisted nostalgia about restoring the dynamics of a bygone era. None of this is normal. And it's important to remember at moments like this, the greatest tragedy is not, as King said, the clamor of bad people, but it's the appalling silence of so many good people. Not normal. But in California, we're not silent. You're not silent. You're not hunkering down. We're not retreating. We're a beacon. The state is providing a different narrative, an operational model, a policy blueprint for others to follow. This state, this people, this experiment in democracy belongs not to the past, but it belongs to the future.
All right,
Expanding
thank you,
civil
Albert.
rights for all, opening doors.
Yeah, there's something off about him in that speech.
Oh, I know what it is. And for me, I think I know what it is. He is not a great orator. He is a composed speaker, but he's not a great orator. And part of his issue or problem or obstacle, however you want to phrase it, is going to be whether he can connect with people who are, let's say, in the Midwest, let's say, who don't come from privilege, let's say, who don't have a lot of means or money, who are unfamiliar with him. And the speech that he gave yesterday was so stilted, it reaffirms how difficult it's going to be in the future months trying to connect, believing that he's not more than gloss back hair and a suit. And I'm not trying to reduce him to that, but that's the caricature that's going to be out there. That's the difficulty that he's going to have to overcome to meet Iowans, to meet people in Mississippi. And I don't know if what he's offering right now translates. And I talked about this, where Californians may love Gavin Newsom, but it doesn't mean the rest of the country will, Democrats included. So what I think you were picking up on was that inability, my word, to seem comfortable and composed enough to connect.
Yeah, some disagreement in the chat. Some people liked the speech, thought it was good. I don't know. Maybe I've seen him speak so many times that I just thought that's a change in him. I don't know.
Some people sometimes confuse. They like what the speech represents as far as an adversary to Trump, a foil, but that's different from the quality of the presentation or the impact of the presentation. And I don't know. In other words, it's not like there was any pull quote. It wasn't like there was a moment that's going to go viral from that speech. And that's very important in today's politics. No one's going to sit and watch that hour-and-a-half long speech. Nobody other than me.
And me. I watched it as well. Let's move to Venezuela. I don't know about you, and I don't know why, but I woke up after they seized Nicolas Maduro, and Trump's on Air Force One talking about, we did it for the oil. And I was surprised. I don't know why, when they tell you who they are, believe them. I guess I just thought it was all bluster, this type of stuff. And here we are going into some other country and taking their leader in the middle of the night. Granted, their leader was a bad guy, but still, does America have the legal right to do such a thing? And now that we've done it, we have to kind of look at all the other things he's saying. You're making the threats against Colombia and the threats against Mexico and the threats against Greenland and Cuba and on and on and on. And what does it mean for us as a country and our place in the world?
The moment they seized the first oil tanker in Venezuela, and I think I might have been sitting in for Mark that day, I said, okay, we are on our way. We are on our path to some military intervention, regime change in Venezuela, because then, you could take off the costume at that point about these drug boats. You haven't heard anything else about the drug boats. All of a sudden that went away. It's now about the oil and the fact that the president convened oil presidents as opposed to Congress to let them know what was going to happen in Venezuela should tell you everything about this Trump doctrine, which is going to be inclusive of Panama and inclusive of Greenland and possibly inclusive of Colombia. Yes, if you are not of the opinion that Trump means what he says, regardless of how bat guano crazy it may be, then you're not paying attention and you're a danger to society and actually indicative of how the Democrats have been ineffective in thwarting Trump because they're not taking him seriously enough, even though he may be crazy.
We have, in this latest iteration of defense spending, increased how much we're going to spend on the Department of Defense by, I think, 50% is what I was reading.
Correct.
Trump said in an interview that he gave to the New York Times, the only thing that can stop him is, quote, my own morality, my own mind. I'm fearful. I'm pretty fearful of that because clearly his own morality and mind hasn't done well so far.
Yeah, he's telling you he has a God complex.
Yeah.
He's not using those words, but he has a God complex. He's obviously dealing with some progression of dementia. And when you put that together with the nuclear codes, there's nothing funny about it.
No.
When you put that together with regime change, you know that our world order is fundamentally going to change in the next year. And that's provided that he lives that long. Let's be honest. His health is declining naturally and precipitously in a way where I cannot honestly say it's a safe bet that he's going to live to see 2027. But in between time and before we get to that time, he can raise a lot of hell and wreak a lot of havoc.
You see people talking about if the midterms, swing blue, how an impeachment is likely. Even Trump said, if, the GOP doesn't win the midterms, I will be impeached again.
Well, we've had two.
Yeah, we've had two and they haven't made a difference. So
yeah, I mean, and people don't, I know this audience, they're very well read and they understand, but the general public doesn't understand. Impeachment is in the House. Impeachment means you'll just bring charges. The trial is in the Senate. That's where the conviction and removal is. You're not going to get that 2/3 vote in the Senate in today's world. This is not the Richard Nixon days of 1973, what have you. This Congress is so partisan, say what you will, you're not going to get a removal. So the impeachment only means something in a headline sense. It doesn't actually effectuate any real change.
Yeah. Mo Kelly, thank you for being here. I missed you so much. I'm so glad to see your face, and I will see you. Will you be back on Monday?
I will be back on Monday.
Yeah, Mo Kelly in the captain's chair hosting for Mark on Monday. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Happy New Year, and see you all soon.
Thanks, Mo Kelly. Bye-bye. Mo Kelly, everybody. Love having him as part of this show. I think before we get
to your soul, the Mark Thompson Show.
Before we get to the culture blaster, Michael Snyder, who is, I think he's going to review Greenland 2, and I can't wait what he has to say about that. Friday Fabulous Florida, and I think we got to make that happen. What do you think, Albert?
We do. It's that time, and I think there's some gators.
Oh yeah, right on.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
The first story on Friday Fabulous Florida sent in by Wes, and it is a morning briefing given by our favorite sheriff, Grady Judd, who discusses a man found in quite an outfit. I think we have the video of this one. The man in a red lace getup concealing all kinds of weaponry. Is that correct, Albert?
Yes, and Well, just to keep the segment short, he goes through an in-depth detail of what this guy was wearing, and
Oh, we're not going to see the video?
No, well,
Okay.
he gets to it in the minute like 8.
So the best part of it is, I think, Grady Judd's reaction to this man that his name was Matthew, who claimed to be going to there he is, Matthew Zaccarino, who claimed to be going to a costume party, but was found in his vehicle and wearing a red lace bra with silicone breasts inside and a red thong or a lace thong. But underneath the silicone, as the sheriff says, breastises, they find guns and weapons. And the man says he's going to a costume party, but can't say where it is, can't say anything like this. Zaccarino arrested, charged with armed trespassing with a firearm, loitering or prowling, resisting an officer without violence. And again, it's a wild story, but I think Grady Judd is just really makes it here. He had this gun hidden under a prosthetic silicone breast while he was trespassing at this construction site. So that's pretty Florida.
Yeah, he was going to say, can you imagine he's mad at us for trying to find out why he's wearing lace bras with guns and G-strings or G-somethings?
Hey, wear your fancy outfit however you want to wear it. I think it's the gun that got him in trouble. The next story we move to regarding an alligator, and it is very Florida, with a gator found swimming in a pool, and this is a big mama. Gator is huge. This massive alligator was wrangled from a midnight swim out of a Florida pool. Look at this thing go.
Yeah, and it's cold. It's wintertime, and it's weird to see the gators are out there. So this is the one. I'm pretty sure that pool is heated or something. I don't know.
This is in Naples, Florida. I love that you're a gator expert now just because of this segment, and you truly are. This gator, nearly 8 feet long, was in this family's pool in midnight this week. The entire ordeal caught on video. They had to call out an expert. The family said they let their dog out to go to the bathroom at about 1 a.m, and they heard a splash in the pool. And after investigating, saw a massive shadow of this 8-foot-long gator in the pool. So they call the police. The police call the wildlife alligator trapper, who comes and removes this gator from the pool. And the trapper apparently put a snare around the gator, dragged him to the pool steps, taped the gator's mouth closed. It's crazy how fast and how effective they are at this. And off he went. He wasn't happy, but the alligator measured at the end 7 feet 11 inches long. That is a big, big gator. So there you go. And lastly, a Florida woman is suing an apartment complex after a spider bite that she got led to an amputation of her toe. Yikes. So
yeah, I don't know if I want to show the pictures of this woman. And
maybe of the spider?
Or the spiders.
Oh, yeah. This lady says that while she was living in this apartment, she suffered a spider bite that led to the doctors having to take off her toes. She says she suffered multiple medical problems because of the presence of spiders constantly in her Grand Oaks apartment unit, and suffered several bites, which were painful, she said, and caused a burning sensation. Infections from the bites worsened, and it led to her having 2 toes amputated. She
They
said
do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
I hope they don't do this to you all the time. Looks ridiculous. It's embarrassing. She said, I hate having to explain myself all the time as to what happened. So now she's
image is hideous.
She claims that she reported the issue multiple times and that management failed to respond. She said they threw them away or blew me off. And the very last time she said I went, I asked them to release me from the lease agreement, and they told her no. They say they are not responsible for her injuries or damages, and that her filing lacks specifics. She said, I had begged the management owners, I just want everything settled and I want to go back to my life.
What's got going here is a situation.
Yikes. They don't say what kind of spider it is, but I'm looking at a picture of a spider that's super creepy. And if I don't, you know what? Here's the problem, Albert. The minute you see that you're living in a spider nest, I'm out. I'm not even staying there. I'm gone. Not
I just
paying the
don't.
rent.
All the pictures are unsettling. Of
Don't care how it looks on
situation.
my credit. I am not living in a spider nest. No,
No,
thank
no, yeah, you got to break that lease. You got to get out of there.
You got to
This is
get out of there.
Your toes are on the line, literally. So you gotta.
All right, Albert, what's your favorite?
Share yours in the chat, please. No time for the poll. We're running a little behind, so I do like them. I do like the Gator. I like the Gator because I'm not used to seeing any Gator stories in January.
Yeah, Gator is good, and that was a big Gator. Yeah, Helos Karen says it's going to be a tough vote. John Slade says Machine Gun Man. Phineas wants to see the spider bite. I don't know. Red Lace says Tammy. Spiders says MG do it. Yeah.
I think that might be the first time we've had an amputation in Friday Fabulous Florida. In the last, I think we've been doing this segment for seven years. Something like that. So
I can't, in good conscience, vote for Spider Bite. I'm gonna vote for the bra guy only because Sheriff Grady Judd is hilarious. So thank you for that. That is Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
It's got to be the Gator in January, but it is hard to beat that lace bra. Let's look at some movies. We have our movie critic, our movie reviewer, the culture blaster, Michael Snyder. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Here he is. Hi, Michael Snyder.
Hey, Kim. Hello, Albert, and all the remarkables. I'm still recovering from the New Year's frenzy. I saw 2026 in at the Constellation Club when the clock struck midnight, and the 12 days of Christmas are finally over, so you better have taken down your tree, or I don't know, the Christmas gremlin will come to your house. The Feast of the Epiphany is past, and you know what that means? Carnival season has begun in New Orleans. And after that Friday Fabulous Florida, I'm now hankering for a New Orleans style Gator poor boy sandwich. Have you ever had Gator, Kim?
No. There was a restaurant in my town that served it, and I just couldn't bring myself to eat it.
Tastes like chicken.
Well,
it tastes like chicken.
Does it really?
I've had Gator, yeah.
It's delicious. And I'm going to say this, and I want you to believe me, tastes just like chicken, okay?
Yeah, that's what Albert says. They had in this restaurant like a mummified gator or a taxidermied gator. And I can't look at the face of the creature while I'm eating it. No.
Well,
no,
that's what a lot of vegans and vegetarians say as well. Don't eat anything. Don't eat anything with a face.
No.
Anyway, let's get down to business. It's the January dead zone for new movies, and this is that post-holiday period when the studios and distributors assume that the public is burnt out on entertainment and short on cash. So it's time to release feature films that have been on the shelf or seem like losers or they're tax write-offs. And meanwhile, let's be honest, we've all been witness to a blockbuster, The Rise of the American Reich, a horror movie I never wanted to see. So let's turn to what Hollywood and various foreign countries are providing for us in the theaters. You know, a number of high-quality indie and foreign movies that receive short LA and New York Awards consideration runs in December are now opening in more markets, and a few of them are out this weekend. And one of them is Dead Man's Wire, which I did review on the MTS this past December, but I just thought it's so good it deserves another mention now that it's opening wider. It is a docudrama directed by the great Gus Van Sant, and it's about the 1977 Indianapolis kidnapping by Tony Kuritzis of his bank mortgager. And Kuritzis is played by Bill Skarsgård, who a lot of people may only know as Pennywise the Clown in those recent It movies, the Stephen King adaptations. He is a really good actor. He is one of the sons of Stellan Skarsgård, the Scandinavian acting family. And, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. It's driven forward by this serious, compelling performance by Skarsgård. And it also reminded me a lot of the 1970s true life crime drama Dog Day Afternoon. So it is super cool that Van Zandt cast Al Pacino as the father of the president of the mortgage company that was kidnapped by Karitzis. And Pacino, of course, is, you know, the power behind the bank character here. And you got Coleman Domingo. It's a very good movie, and it'll get some awards consideration and notice as we head into that part of 2026 when the Golden Globes and the Oscars are held. I do recommend Dead Man's Wire, and it is in select theaters. And now let's get down to brass tacks here. The new movies that are coming out, and how fortuitous to have a movie titled Greenland 2 Migration released this very week when Greenland 2 Trumpization was also released. I can't believe it.
I had to tell you, though, that I watched Greenland, the original movie Greenland,
right,
a couple of different times over winter break when my kids were home. It just they kept clicking on it. The original Greenland was actually pretty compelling.
It is. It's actually, it is. I won't even call it a guilty pleasure. It is a well-made
Never been anything like this.
movie. It's a well-made disaster movie about a comet hitting Earth and a family that has to escape the aftermath and try to stay alive while the ecosystem is destroyed and there's radioactivity in the air. And the same leads as the dad and mom of the family, aka the Garrity family, they're back, and that would be Gerard Butler and Marina Baccarin. And you know, I keep thinking about Trump and Greenland right now.
Yeah.
You know, and this new movie title reminds me a little of the famous political rallying cry, Venezuela for you and Greenland too. No, wait. That was Canoe and Tyler too. Never mind. Anyway, so the Garretts survived the globally devastating comet strike in the first movie by getting from their home in America to a massive underground shelter in Greenland, where they are shielded from what seem to be radioactive lightning storms. So the Garrittys and scores of their fellow survivors end up having to flee the bunker in Greenland too a few years later when a barrage of meteors rains down on the country, I guess presumably like missiles sent by Pistol Pete Hegseth. I don't know. I keep wanting to tie it back into our current political circumstances. Anyway, so where do the Garrittys and the other people who escaped the bunker go? Well, in the case of the family, they head for mainland Europe, France in particular, where that giant comet struck and created a massive crater that, in a comparatively short time, may have become a safe zone. I'm going to quote one of your favorite drops. The science here is ridiculous. I mean,
Oh no.
The effects are good. The script is silly. The acting is serviceable, but it's all hampered by that script. There are a lot of kind of fun action sequences, you know, and obviously you're gripping your armrest while certain things are happening on the big screen. But yeah, I don't know. The first of these movies, as we said, decent entertainment that actually made me care about the welfare of the characters. And in this case, yeah, I couldn't have cared if they fell down a crevice.
No.
I have to say that this earns its status as it earns its status as a theatrical release in the notorious early January dumping ground. You know, some of those movies the studios are wrong about. They think of them as disappointing. Some of them are genuine stinkers. I mean, last year, I believe in January, Black Bag, one of my top 10 films of the year, was released. But this is not in that realm whatsoever. It is in, though, theaters all across our great nation.
So is that a not recommended by Michael Snyder?
Come on, are you deaf, Kim? Come on. What happened to your cognitive
image
powers?
is hideous.
Okay. All right. Now let's move on to another winner. If nothing else, Primate is a shoe-in to be my favorite rabid chimp horror movie of the year. Hey, and it's only January 9th. I know it. This is going to be the best rabid chimp horror movie this year. Okay, so the premise seems like fun. Imagine if Coco, the lovable sign language communicating gorilla, was a chimpanzee was afflicted with rabies and went face-rippingly violent to anyone he comes across, even his beloved owners. So halfway through the screening of Primate, I recalled the words of producer Dino De Laurentiis about his 1970s remake of King Kong with Jeff Bridges and Jessica Lange. De Laurentiis is meeting the press and talking about his film, and at one point he says, "When my monkey die, everybody gonna cry." And I always thought that was like full on hilarious. And so I instinctively knew halfway through this film that if the monkey in Primate die, everybody gonna cheer. Anyway, in some ways, Primate apes, I'm so sorry. Yes, it apes the haunted house horror format, as a bunch of randy college-age kids are up to party at a secluded cliffside dwelling in Hawaii where a renowned deaf zoologist and his two daughters live with Ben, the family's very bright adopted chimpanzee who communicates through sign language, seems to be very, very humorous and caring, has one of those little speak and spell machines so he can like talk to the people, in a voice. So Dad goes to a book signing for one of his tomes, and thus the eldest daughter and her friends decide to use the occasion to invite some horny boys to drop by for a little monkey business, so to speak. But they're all unaware that Ben has been infected. You kind of guess what sort of carnage is going to result.
Yeah.
You can guess, or you could go see director and co-screenwriter Johan Roberts' wild 90 minutes of hairy, scary action. Roberts is a horror vet who has helmed one of the later Resident Evil movies and the 47 Meters Down Shark Attack thrillers. As formula as this was, I kept asking myself the most pertinent question when you watch something like this: was I not entertained? And as embarrassing as it may be, my answer was yes. I mean, for what it was, it worked. And whoever played Ben the Chimp deserves a year's supply of bananas, really. Anyway, Primate is in theaters. I give it a tentative okay for what it is.
Does Ben the Chimp use the voice machine to say horrible things when he gets the afflicted with the...
Did you write the script? Oh, that's the other thing. I kept thinking to myself that both Primate and Greenland 2 do seem like that, looming nightmare, scripts written by AI or Chat GPT. But, I'm not going to cast any more aspersions on either film. Primate was far more watchable for me than Greenland 2.
Okay.
Okie dokie. Finally, a movie I can endorse, and it's one of these films that came out in December for awards consideration, but I didn't get a chance to see it, and it's now opening wider. It's called Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. So, with Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, the maverick filmmaker Jim Jarmusch, he of the New York downtown art scene, he's made some wonderful films like Down by Law. I mean, we could rattle off his filmography, but trust me, he's cool, and he's completely indie in his attitudes and tone. Very, very independent filmmaker. Anyway, he has fashioned a triptych of 3 short, peripherally connected films about the complicated relationships between parents and their children. This thing is pretty droll. It's very insightful, and it illustrates the pleasures and the burdens of lifelong family connections in a kind of shorthand. So the anthology format offers like very brief glimpses at these blood relations, and they hint at how they evolve or decay over time. And for me, they were all really engaging. And I got to note that the casting in all 3 segments is absolutely inspired. So consider the first segment, which is set at a sturdy lakeside home in the New Jersey, New York area, where a scruffy bohemian type, played by the great singer, songwriter, and actor Tom Waits, tentatively welcomes his buttoned-down, somewhat concerned son and daughter, played by Adam Driver and Mayim Bialik. I mean, what an interesting combination of performers, am I right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it works. And Driver and Bialik do seem like they could be the offspring of the Tom Waits character, which is completely cool. So Segment 2 is set in a tidy upper middle class neighborhood in Dublin, Ireland, where a successful author played by the ever elegant Charlotte Rampling is having her 2 daughters drop by for a rare get together over tea and fancy pastries. And are you ready? Kate Blanchett is the uptight daughter, and the wonderful German actress Vicky Krieps is the free-spirited daughter. And these people have issues with one another, which makes for a kind of a charmingly tense encounter. And the final segment finds fraternal twins, a young man and a young woman in Paris, where they're dealing with the aftermath of their parents' untimely death. The siblings, played by India Moore and Lucas Sabat, drive through the streets of Paris. They make a couple of stops, and they end things with this really heartfelt conversation at their late parents' now empty apartment. This movie is touching at times, it's whimsical at times, and it's smart. And it's, again, called Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. More kudos to Jim Jarmusch. It's an unconventional film. It's January. Take the time to seek it out. Again, it's in select theaters.
Okay. Awesome.
Does that strike you as interesting?
It really does. Yeah, it really does. I think it's going to be a good movie. And you think this is going to be a big one for award season?
It'll maybe get some recognition, but I think like Rental Family, another movie I was enamored of.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's not necessarily going to get the buzz of some other films. You know, it wouldn't be a culture blast on the Mark Thompson show without at least one horror movie, one real horror movie. I don't mean like a rabid chimp. No, that's, that's more like a creature feature.
That's child's play. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I have one, and oh my God, it's a good one. It's called We Bury the Dead. I already see Kim shuddering. You may not see it if you're watching the video, but I could see it. I could see it in her eyes. The fear. No, anyway.
Is it a zombie movie? We Bury the Dead.
What do you think? It's a cool
thing. They come back. Yeah.
Wait. Let me explain how this goes down. I don't want to. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but you'll hear why it's not a spoiler.
Okay.
So We Bury the Dead is a very cool spin on what we could call the deathless zombie genre. It just keeps coming back, does it not? This is a very, very clever, idea-driven horror movie that's as much about relationships in crisis between living people as it is about a U.S. military pulse weapon that kills a load of citizens on Tasmania, that island adjacent to Australia, and turns some of them into the shambling undead with deep-seated urges. Not everybody. So after this horrific thing happens in this limited geographical area, the army, Australian army, I assume, or the Tasmanian army, if they have their own army, asks for volunteers to come in and bring out the dead. And some people who may have lost family or friends want to show up to see the status of their loved ones. So they show up, and the weird kind of twist here is that some, not all, but some of these dead people who have been brain damaged by this electronic pulse that the army weapon set off are coming back to life to an extent. And so Daisy Ridley plays Ava, whose husband was at a Tasmanian resort when the pulse bomb went off. And so she wants to see what's happening because she's had some issues with her husband. They're estranged, not really sure, how things are going to play out, but she kind of feels the need to seek him out, see if he's alive, and if he's, one of the living dead. I don't know what she was planning to do. Anyway, my point, maybe that's grounds for divorce. Anyway, Daisy Ridley, who you know as Rey from the Star Wars film franchise, so she's pretty good. She's good. She's done a number of interesting films that are not at all like Star Wars. And she decided to do this zombie movie, which is actually, again, pretty clever. Brenton Thwaites, who some people would know as Dick Grayson or Nightwing on the Titans TV program on HBO Max, plays this sort of freebooting guy who has decided he's going to help with the dispersal of the bodies. And Matt Whalen plays Ava's estranged husband, Mitch. This was written by Zach Hilditch, and it was very promising as far as I was concerned. I thought that as these movies go, We Bury the Dead was pretty good, good of kind. I wouldn't say not terrible, as we sometimes thumb our nose at movies. But no, this is actually some good stuff. But again, if you're not into horror, this is probably not your jam. We Bury the Dead in theaters. Let's move on. We got a couple more that we need to really address. And one of them, I think, it has, some horrific elements, but it is not a horror movie per se. And I think this might be of interest to you, Kim, as a mother of teens, tweens, etc. It's called The Plague, and it's not to be confused with the Albert Camus novel of the same name, okay? The Plague is a very well-made and very disturbing film about bullying among tween-age boys at a water polo camp run during the summer of 2003 by an avuncular coach who was played by one of the past year's most celebrated actors, Joel Edgerton. And the coach is an important role, but it's a supporting role. The real focus is on the kids themselves with their clique behavior and their cruelty, which is mostly directed at a kid named Eli, who's an oddball with acne, and who was accused because of his skin condition by the others of having a plague of some sort. And so they ostracize this kid. And when a sensitive, somewhat awkward 12-year-old named Ben tries to become one of the gang, while at the same time feeling sympathy for Eli, he finds himself caught in the middle of this mean-spirited game being played by the in crowd. The young actors, especially Everett Blunk as Ben, Kenny Rasmussen as Eli, and a kid named K.O. Martin as the nasty ringleader Jake, they are amazing. And I don't want to, use this word, in the wrong way, but they give skin-crawlingly realistic performances that seem to have been captured by hidden cameras. It had that almost that Lord of the Flies vibe.
I was gonna say Lord of the Flies. There's a Lord of the Flies meets the water, huh?
Yeah, these kids. This is at a water polo camp, in a nice facility, and there are girls that are studying to be water ballet performers, and of course, as tweens, the boys are starting to get interested in girls, and that's kind of a side note to the movie. I give screenwriter and director Charlie Pollinger high marks for The Plague. I thought this was really good. It's in select theaters, and as we like to say, or as Letterman used to say, I hope to God your theater is selected. Anyway. Foreign films, and this is one that came out in December in limited release, very limited, but it is power-packed, and it is one of the best foreign films of 2025, without question. It's called The Voice of Hind Rajab, and this is a movie about volunteers at a Palestine Red Crescent Society. This is based on a true incident. It is shored by actual audio of a little girl on the phone, 6 years old, a kid named Hind, who is trapped in a car with family members after an attack in Gaza. Now, this unit of the Palestine Red Crescent Society are on the West Bank, and they're trying to figure out a way to get an ambulance to this child and save her. And the entire film is pretty much set at this Palestine Red Crescent Society office, and the performances are absolutely wonderful. Director Carruthers Ben Hania has kind of almost seamlessly incorporated the actual audio of the little girl. This is a heartbreaker. This is something we need to see so we understand the consequences of what's going on between the Israelis and the Palestinians. And for God's sake, the most inhumane thing you could imagine is probably war. And that's what's happening there in the, in Israel and Palestine. And this movie focuses in on the human cost. And oh my God, it's so brilliantly done. I highly recommend The Voice of Hind Rajab. And it's difficult to watch on some level, but it's absolutely, I feel it's essential viewing in this day and age, considering what we're confronting now. It's in limited theaters, but I suggest people try to find it. And it'll play well at home, by the way, when you can get the option.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds really, really compelling.
Let's wrap with Magellan. Magellan is it's kind of an epic from he's a Filipino director named Lav Diaz, and he has apparently become the leading proponent of what they call slow cinema. And I watched this thing and I was excited about it because Magellan, as a young Portuguese navigator who is trying to circumnavigate the world, is played by the great and esteemed Mexican actor Gael Garcia Bernal. You know, he's playing Portuguese here. And we just don't get enough of Magellan at the top of this thing. I know they're trying to set up the circumstances that were going down during the 16th century age of exploration. And, you know, all I'll say is it seems to be historically accurate, although it presumes a lot of events up close and personal that may or may not have happened. It does kind of focus in on Magellan's ambition. And you know, obviously, Gael Garcia Bernal is a compelling actor, but calling this an example of slow cinema, I mean, I'll say this thing crawled for 2 hours and 36 minutes for me. And, you know, it's beautifully shot and in all these exotic locations. And again, Gael Garcia Bernal is magnetic, right? But it just didn't, you know, it just didn't land for me. It was... you know, it's hard for me to recommend it. It was like a college course that you can't wait to be done with, basically.
Oh, what is slow cinema? And when you hear that, then do you expect it to be one of these movies that doesn't move along?
Yeah, you do, but you know, I mean, when I'm checking my my watch, if I wore a watch, kind of nuts, you know. And there are aspects of it that are really fascinating, like these whole, you know, these countries in Europe that had colonial intent and their attempt to conquer various lands and the conflicts that went on between tribes, the native people in any given place, and the European interlopers. That stuff was pretty fascinating. And again, maybe had it been a mini series broken into 6 half hours, it would have been more interesting to me. But, you know, it was tough. When Magellan gets to Malaysia, you know, he kind of gets crazy. And I mean, there are aspects of it I thought that were worthwhile, and I'm not going to diss it. It's just, speaking of difficult viewing, that's Magellan, let me tell you.
Any streaming options that you want to quickly discuss?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I absolutely can and will discuss them. I don't know if you ever watched The Night Manager. And it's
I liked it. Yeah.
Oh my God! Based on John le Carré's novel of the same name, it's it was a cinematic. It looked like a big budget feature film on your TV, and it starred the wonderful and now much better known Tom Hiddleston as a former British soldier named Jonathan Pine, who is drawn into working for MI6 against his will when a really rich, manipulative businessman played by Hugh Laurie is in the process of running guns and doing much worse. And so Pine is convinced by Olivia Colman's MI6 facilitator, spy master, to get involved with Roper, the businessman, and kind of bring down his operation. So we've moved on since then. And Pine, the character played by Hiddleston, is now running his own ops unit for MI6 in London. He's not out in the field. And they're called the Night Owls, and thus the Night Manager name is still very viable here, despite the first series being based on le Carré's novel, and this one not. This one being an extension of it, developed by executive producer David Farr, who also has written much of it. So the first 3 episodes of this series debut this coming Sunday and pick up the story of Jonathan Pine, who becomes embroiled with a South American drug lord in this particular iteration of The Night Manager. And I've watched the first couple episodes. I'm waiting for season 2's 3rd episode, which will come out via Amazon Prime on Sunday. And high marks. Maybe it's not as great as the first Night Manager series, but man, I'm glad to reconnect with this character. And yeah, it's pretty damn good. And one more quick note. I can't believe I missed season 2. I love this first time out. Such Brave Girls is a perversely funny British comedy in half-hour bites about a misbegotten single mom and her two bulky daughters who have problems that are different from one another, but no less problematic. This is funny, just outrageous. The creation of Kat Sadler, who is one of the two women, Josie, one of the two daughters, and she wrote and created this thing. And the other daughter is played by Lizzie Davidson, and the mom is played by Louise Brealey, and they're just out for themselves. It is a little bit of the British comedy of discomfort, but it's funny, it's woman-centric. It's on Hulu. Apparently, you can see all 12 episodes. 2 6-episode seasons are available. And boy, I recommend Such Brave Girls to comedy fans. And Kat Sadler is a real treasure. She's really something else.
All right, let's wrap it up and go through with a little rundown. I'll move fast. Your first movie that you came up with, Dead Man's Wire. You said it's a docudrama, and you said this is a really good movie, that it will likely get noticed during this awards season. It is in select theaters, and you recommend Dead Man's Wire.
Indeed, I did review it in December, but I just wanted to give a quick nod back to it because it is coming out wider this January.
Greenland 2, Migration. You said the effects were good. The script is just silly, and you found yourself not really as invested in the survival of this family as you were the first time around. Greenland 2, Migration, not recommended by the Culture Blaster. Primate, about a rabid chimp. It's a horror movie. You said this one is formulaic, but still, somehow, you were entertained. You said this one works for what it is, and it is more watchable than Greenland 2.
Oh yeah, you'll be on the edge of your seat. You'll never look at you'll never look at one of those cute little chimpanzees again with the same warmth, I think.
Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. You called this movie engaging. You said it has really, really great casting. You also said of Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, it is touching, whimsical, unconventional, and smart. And you recommend Father, Mother, Sister, Brother. As for We Bury the Dead, you said it's a clever idea-driven horror movie, and you called it good of kind. We Bury the Dead. The Plague, Lord of the Rings-ish. You said it's about bullying between teen boys, and you said the screenplay here is really good, and it felt kind of realistic to you. Plague.
Right, it's Lord of the Flies, not Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Flies. My apologies.
No Gollum.
No.
Let me amend that. Some of these kids are as twisted as Gollum. Yes, absolutely.
No, Lord of the Flies. The voice of Hind Rajab, based on a true incident. You said the performances in this movie were wonderful. You called it a heartbreaker, a necessary movie that focuses on the human cost of war. You said it's difficult to watch, but it's essential viewing. It is highly recommended, this foreign film called The Voice of Hind Rajab. Magellan looks to be historically accurate to you. You said the acting is good and it's beautifully shot, but this movie just did not land for you. You said you found yourself looking at your watch. It's hard for you to recommend Magellan.
Too slow. Too
slow. As for streaming options, The Night Manager Season 2, you liked it, and the first 3 episodes dropped this Sunday. Such Brave Girls Season 2 on Hulu, a funny British comedy, outrageous, woman-centric. All 12 episodes are out, and you recommend Such Brave Girls. And there it is, Michael Snyder.
Yeah, you got it. Lovely to jaw with you, Kim. I guess tonight in the this weekend here in LA, there's art openings and parties and all the rest of the usual Culture Blaster baloney. I'm looking forward to it. And on Sunday in the 1:30 window, our Niners, meaning my fellow Niner fans and my Niners, are going up against my boyhood team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And as a Niners fan most of my adult life, I am going for the red and gold. I'm hoping that we get a win in Philly on Sunday. That's about it. Love you, boy.
Go Niners. The Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, can be found at thevoicesf.org, where you can read his amazing writing. All the ding words are contained therein. Thevoicesf.org. Thank you, Michael Snyder.
You're most welcome, Kim.
Bye-bye. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Sayonara. There it is.
Where's that rainbow?
There you go. Woo. You know, Mark's not here. The rainbow falls apart. Thank you, Michael Snyder. All right. Have some people to thank. Mr. Adkins throwing in a couple. Thank you so much for that. Also, Tony Ladowdy with 5 talking about Trump, saying a lot of this falls on Mitch McConnell after stating clearly Trump was responsible for January 6th. He voted no to impeach him. And Richard Delamater says, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it, with a couple. Appreciate that. Luis throwing in 5. New America First pricing at our national parks. Non-residents must pay $250 for an America the Beautiful pass with Trump and Washington's faces on it. I heard people are putting stickers over Trump's face, and people are getting in trouble for doing that. They say they don't want to accept it with a sticker blocking Trump's face.
I mean, our tourism's already down by a lot since the Trump administration. I'm sure this isn't going to help.
Thank you to everyone who's contributed. Thank you to Albert for producing the show, Mark, Mo Kelly, Michael Snyder.
For the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
I'll see you next at the After Party Live. Have a great weekend, everybody. Mo Kelly back on Monday. Bye-bye.